Number one is follow the golden rule. Always treat those around you as if they were you, the way you'd like to be treated as best you can. Okay, always be curious. Remember to always be curious, because if you're curious and you have a drive to learn and take action, then you're probably going to be okay in life. All right. Number three.
Welcome to a new episode of the Dev Device Podcast. Today I have Benji Burrell with me. Welcome, Benji.
Thank you, Dano, for having me.
Yeah, look at your microphone, man. I love it. It looks so professional. Looks like you're doing this every day, man. Are you a podcaster or what?
This might be my first podcast, Dano. I must admit.
No. Really? Wow.
Very true.
Well,
very true.
You're really well equipped for someone who does his first podcast. Well, that's fantastic.
Well, I learn from the best. I try to learn from all the smart people around me, you included.
There you go. The way that, So, which makes me even more curious about Good People Technologies. So, what are you doing in your business today?
Well, Good People Technologies is my company. I'm Benji Burrell, and I've owned the company for 10 years. I founded it in 2014. And my company and my team, we go out there in the world and we help our clients gather the technology of the world and bring it together in the simplest, most efficient way so that they can run themselves more efficiently. And specifically, this is helping businesses grow their top and their bottom lines by implementing technology solutions. That usually looks like modifying an ERP system or implementing an e-commerce system or integrating systems like that. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I already have like three things in my mind where you could help me with, I guess, in the technology realm. I mean, I'm not a tech guy at all. And I think we all hit these roadblocks along our business journey with something doesn't work and we don't know how to fix it. And unless you're an IT guy, it can be really hard. But you are the guy who can fix stuff. So, if I have a problem with my CRM or with some integration of different systems to make them talk to each other, automation, all these things you can help with, right?
That's correct, Dano. So there's two general categories of the services that my company provides. One is the higher level architecture style consulting, which is fractional chief technology officer consulting. So we might help a company look at their very large scale systems, plan 1, 3, 5, 10 years out, and plan their growth and align it with their resources. Then there's the block and tackle part of it, where you put together the nuts and bolts and all the components that are needed and go and implement. I call that part business technology engineering. I have a mechanical engineering and manufacturing engineering background. And so I apply all those engineering principles to the world of technology. And our goal there is always to identify what it is the client needs first, and then work back from there one step at a time until we identify, the next week or two worth of work. So those are the two general categories: the block and tackle part and the high tech, the high level advising part.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But if I think of technology, I mean, there's so many platforms, there is so many coding languages and whatnot. I mean, how do you deal with this enormous universe of different platforms and languages and stuff? I mean, can you do all of that?
Dano, that's a good question. It's something that people have asked me over the years, and the answer is no, we can't do it all. We have to be honest and realistic with our clients. So we have specific skill sets internally that are already in-house, and decades and decades worth of experience with different software platforms. For example, with NetSuite ERP, or Epicor Profit 21 ERP, things like that. WordPress, WooCommerce, Shopify, for example. We have lots of in-house capabilities. Now, we also have relationships with talented individuals around the world who are not on the team full-time, but have specific capabilities, and we can tap those networks to utilize their talent. Now, if that doesn't work, then obviously we can we're clear with clients and say, hey, we need to go find someone else to help you do X, Y, or Z. So it's all situational, but we, as a company, we're very clear and transparent on our website and our communications as to, in terms of what systems we know natively in-house.
Cool. Yeah, but I think that's a very smart approach. I mean, you cannot know everything, but there are people around the world who do know whatever you need help with, and to just hire them for a specific project, I guess that's the way to go. It's impossible to do everything in-house, and most likely not very economical neither. So I think we have a good idea of what Good People, what a name, man. Good People Technologies. Where did you come up with this name?
I did not, honestly. I was inspired by a friend. Some friends of mine live out west. They have a company called Good People Tree Service, and they're good people. And I was, this is a side note, this is not business related, but I guess it is peripherally related. I was on what I might call a business retreat, where I personally needed to get out into the woods and think about who I was, think about what my business was doing and what we were providing for our clients. And I spent some time on some beautiful Western United States rivers with some friends who happen to own this company, Good People Tree Service. And the more I thought about the name, the more I thought about the way they approach business, I realized that it aligned with what my team and I have always wanted to do. And we just needed to make the team sound bigger and just say to the world what we were and what we wanted to accomplish. So that was the intention with the name change.
Yeah, it works for me, man. I think it's a great name. Good People.
Thank you, Dano.
Who wouldn't want to work with good people? I would.
There you go. See, if you don't want to work with good people, then I don't think I want to work with you.
Exactly.
Put that out there to the world.
Cool. Right. So now it's time to do our little time travel here. And as you know, this podcast is all about the life story of entrepreneurs. And I would love to get to know Mr. Benji when he was 10 years old or somewhere around that age, and see how he became the guy he is today. So let us know, what was 10-year-old Benji about?
Dano, that's a deep question. And I just want to thank you again for offering me the opportunity to come onto the podcast, because I think the 10-year-old Benji is defined by my parents, in addition to, my personal wherewithal and my genetics, but it's defined by what my parents taught me in some ways. I was raised to just try to be a good person. There's that word again. Just try to wake up and do something good each day in the world, whatever that is, whether it's sweeping the floor or, helping build rockets, something, whatever that is, whatever makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. And so with that context in mind, as a young person, I looked around in the world and just was curious about everything. I was curious about how things worked. I bet as a technology person, as a kid, you were doing the same thing, saying, how does that work? What's inside of that box? Oops, I took it apart and can't get it back together. Well, I learned something at least, and so it was that way. I was that way with everything in the world. It could be nature. It could be genetics. It could be chemistry. It could be music. It could be technology. And, so that level of curiosity has stuck with me more than anything else. And I just happen to have a mechanical aptitude, and possibly got culled in that direction for engineering. But I guess, my interest is varied. And that's one of the reasons why I love owning a company, is because I get to talk with so many different individuals, with so many different unique situations, and then put my thinking cap on every day and challenge myself. So yeah, that 10-year-old Benji is still alive and excited.
Wow, that is so cool. The curiosity is what drove you along the way. And so when Benji finished school, what was the next thing he was up to?
Well, Dano, I went to Virginia Tech and studied mechanical engineering. And I worked as an engineer for several years in the military defense, or the defense industry, and specifically the military supply chain. And, I, as a young person, I had more mixed feelings about it now than I do now, I believe. But I felt my work was really important. So I worked for several years on a defensive missile system. And and worked very hard at that. Did, I feel like, a very good job. And some of those components are out deployed around the world right now. And then I got to this place where I'm a very geospatial person. So I love maps. I love understanding what's going on in the landscape around me. And I like to always know which direction north is. Okay. It's that way for sure.
Really?
I don't know why. It's just baked into me. Okay. So I'm always looking north when I'm in Blacksburg, Virginia, working my engineering job. I'm thinking about the people that live north in West Virginia and in Kentucky, and they're dealing with mountaintop removal coal mining. And, for those who are coal miners out there, I'm not anti-coal mining at all. I'm not anti-energy, but my personal conviction said that it's probably a bad idea to blast about 800 feet of a mountaintop off to get to the coal seams and dump that into the valley, because most likely the people that live there aren't going to have a great landscape afterward. And it's going to be an economically depressed area for a very long time. And by the way, you've bulldozed a lot of species on top of that. So in February of 2005, I quit my engineering job and watched springtime come to the town that I loved so much. And then in the summer of that year, I moved to West Virginia to become a community organizer. And so we worked very hard to help the folks in the communities where we lived, ask about what it is that they cared about and try to help them with the things that they listed. And sometimes it actually happened to be related to surface mining. Imagine that, So that was something I did for 7 years, actually. Worked for an organization to pursue that work. So yeah, I'll pause there for a second, Dana, to see if you have any thoughts or questions.
Yeah, I mean, so far I'm just curious, like, how did this lead you to become an entrepreneur and running a tech company? I mean, there is still quite a bit of a gap here right now.
Well stated. Yes, that's true. Well, let me ask you a question. If you were trying to stop a mining practice, or at least to improve the lives of people in wherever you live, and there wasn't a law saying that should be stopped, how would you pass a law? And I guess it's a rhetorical question. I'm going to answer it for you. You would work hard to communicate with the people around your country who are going to communicate with the people who make the laws. You can't just call the lawmakers and say, hey, this law should be here. You should listen to us. No, it doesn't work like that. So here's the tech. We asked ourselves, what do we want to accomplish? We want to try to pass a law that helps people and helps the environment. How do you do that? You work with legislators. How do you do that? You work with their constituents. How do you do that? Well, you have a limited number of people on your team. You need to build technology tools that you can use to communicate effectively and efficiently with the constituents and the people that care about the things you care about. And so there's my transition. We built web tools. We built innovative map tools that won awards from Google using Google Earth. And we just told the world about what was happening and gave them the easiest way possible to participate in what it is that we thought they could participate in. So and that was all tech backbone, but then it came from a place of altruism and with that goal in mind. So that's where I learned a lot of really deep tech and useful, applicable tech beyond the engineering world.
That's fantastic, man. I mean, I never heard something like that. So you used your technology experience to kind of spread the word about what you thought would be ethically appropriate for your particular region, and to preserve nature and the people and the animals and all that. And you used your tech knowledge to make that happen. I mean, there's the good people right over again, man. So you just being good people like all the way before you even had this name on your company.
Well, thank you, Dano. Like I said, I blame my parents.
And did it work out? So did you get this law to be passed?
Dano, in that world of advocacy, there's wins and losses, and it depends on how you measure success as to whether you say we won or lost. There are a number of families who had their water wells poisoned, who we helped sue coal companies to get damages for them and their children who were sick. Major successes. We helped organize communities around very large scale well poisonings in more than hundreds of houses in a county. And we helped stop some mining permits on some mountains. Some mining permits went through, but we did help rally a number of folks who lived in the coal-bearing regions of the United States to support their community members and their miners, like Black Lung Program. Some of the advocacy that came out of the work that we did continued and helped those folks maintain their Black Lung benefits from the federal government. And there was a law called the Clean Power Plan that was passed a number of about 6 or 8 years ago, but it was rolled back by the following administration. But that was a culmination of probably 35 years of work of hundreds and thousands of people. And that was a disappointing thing, but there were great things that came out of that too. So it's wins and losses, but on the average, I think it's a very positive. We came out ahead and did the right thing and improved the world.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, man, that's amazing. So how would you call that? Is it an activist?
Yeah, I guess you could call myself a full-time activist at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a cause, and you follow this cause with all your heart and all your knowledge, and I mean that's what I call passion. That's what I call follow your heart. So I guess that's what you've been doing all this time.
That's right, Dano. And I must bring it to the end of that era, since we're talking about the timeline here. There was a period where all the things that we just talked about that I saw, all the stressors involved in that advocacy and activism, and the financial burden that it put on me as an individual. I mean, I was an AmeriCorps volunteer for a year working on a forestry program. And I mean, I know I don't want to, in the United States, this isn't very much money. I made $12,000 in a year in my salary. And, that wasn't enough to live. I was eating on food stamps and things. And I did that on purpose. I signed up for that because I had this passion. And then after 7 years of doing that, I took a different job after that first AmeriCorps volunteer position, and then worked on the advocacy work in the mining region. But I still didn't get paid very much. And I found myself in my mid 30s and almost 40 and realizing I needed to make up for the lost time to look after myself, because I'd spent a lot of time looking after others. And so I started my own company, thinking that I would grow it at a rate that was sustainable, try to keep the right folks around me on the team who can treat the clients well, but we can sort of continue the mission that we had prior to starting the company as individuals in our own lives. So now my business, I haven't really boiled down the language just perfectly yet, but essentially I ask my team members to serve our clients well and be very attentive and do work that's really good, high quality. But also we're asking our clients to compensate us fairly for that work, so that we can go out in the world and take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the world. So we're not asking for you to pay us a whole lot of money for something that we didn't deserve, but we're saying we want to produce quality work so that we can have individual lives where we can contribute in ways that we feel super meaningful. Yeah.
Wow, that's a mission statement right there, man. There you go. Yeah, that's a very unique mission statement, if you ask me. It's fantastic. But so you decided to start your own company, but as we all know, clients don't fall from the sky. So how did that work out? I mean, just setting up a company doesn't get you into business straight away, right? So how did you find your clients? How did you find your first client?
My first client was an answer that I submitted to a request on Craigslist. They asked for a PHP developer to help them with some custom software that they wrote in their business. And
there you go.
And they said I was the only person that answered, which I thought was strange. Yeah, right. But they are still a client of mine. That was over 10 years ago. And
wow.
I've helped them with a lot of projects over the years, and they sustained me through the entrepreneurial ramp up, I'd say. And then the rest of the clients came from me talking to other people. I mean, I'm going to sing my own praises for a second. I'm kind of gregarious, and I like to have fun chatting with people. And so get to know someone talking on the street at a bar, and in line at the store, and ask them what they do, what their life is like. And you might find some common ground. And every once in a while, they might own an e-commerce company or something else,
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's how I've done it so far. But there's been some changes on that front too. So I'll tell you about that whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I found as an entrepreneur, I found my value was I was undervalued in the marketplace and what in my fees, and that's the short of it. And I've tried to figure out where my upper limit was, and that was just for me to say, okay, I have to take care of myself, and I know I'm going to serve my clients, but what's fair compensation and what's sustainable in the marketplace. So I ramped fees up some and continued the outreach. And I noticed, there's a reduction in the number of folks that are signing up, but also a quality and size of project that's going up. And so the balance has shifted some. And so that my technique of finding folks in the grocery line is not the same anymore because of the size and complexity of the projects I work on. So now I've developed a marketing and sales pipeline that we're working these days, and using it to reach out to companies that have very specific situations that are actually quite applicable to the skill set that we offer. So using targeting on a variety of platforms to try to just make genuinely personal and important direct relationships with the decision makers.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what platforms are you using? Which one are working for you?
Well, I'm going to share all the secrets out there now. I think it's not a secret, though. I think LinkedIn, in the world that I operate in, LinkedIn is probably the best, right?
Yeah. Well,
then
I fully agree.
Email marketing
In the
behind
B2B
that.
world, yeah. Email marketing, LinkedIn, yeah. Welcome to the club. Yeah.
Thank you, Dano. Well, I want to ask you questions, but I don't know if it's appropriate. Do you use the same systems?
I'm not sure which exact systems you're using, but platforms, email marketing, and LinkedIn, definitely, yeah, we also use that to create connections.
Yeah.
But I also admire your your queuing up in a grocery store technique and networking and talking to people. I think that is still very valuable. Although, as you mentioned, at this certain scale of projects, it might become a bit tough to get the right people in. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is like to connect with strangers and to turn them into prospects and friends and clients. LinkedIn, email is definitely a way, but networking is still also very important. And yeah, I was just thinking earlier, like the clients that we have today, where did they come from? And it was quite interesting. I'm not going to give the details here, but it's from, I mean, things like, being in the same bike riders group, for example. So it can be, quite weird for but yeah, of course, at the same time, marketing, LinkedIn, email is essential. I agree.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, the personal networks and the relationships haven't stopped. I mean, that is to say, I've not stopped developing them. I'm very active in my community as a neighborhood resident, but also in the business community in the Asheville, North Carolina area, and just communicating with people who are interested in entrepreneurship, asking them if they need help, or just being genuinely interested in what they have going on. You just never know ways that you can help folks that they didn't realize either by just having good long conversations.
Exactly. Yeah. That's also what one of my mentors says. Listening is the skill that we need, which is very rare these days. It's not about talking and telling, but if you know how to listen, I think that is how you actually create deeper connections rather than just talking at people.
Yep.
Fantastic. We have quite a few things in common here, Mr. Benji. I think it's not a coincidence that we are in the same mastermind little group here, our little AI elite mastermind. I mean, I think that's fantastic that you have joined. And before we end the session, I would invite you to share your nuggets of wisdom and what you would like to tell 10-year-old Benji if you had the chance to do so.
Oh, wow. Boy, Dano, that's a hard question, and I'm gonna ask you to clarify. Do you want me to speak directly to myself as an individual, or as like advice to people who might be in my position in general?
I think both could work. I mean, yeah, I mean, you can speak to yourself if that's not too private for you. But of course, basically, this is about like sharing like your experience and what you have learned along your journey with people who are listening to this podcast and who are still with us until now, which I appreciate a lot. So just to give them what you believe would be the most important things to know or to consider when you become an entrepreneur, when you like enter this journey.
Okay, Dano, I'm going to rattle off a few things. They might not be in the perfect order, but I'm going to try in the order of
That's
importance.
fine.
Okay. Number one is follow the golden rule. Always treat those around you as if they were you, the way you'd like to be treated as best you can. Okay. Always be curious. Remember to always be curious, because if you're curious and you have a drive to learn and take action, then you're probably going to be okay in life. All right. Number three, have confidence in yourself. Don't let the internal anxiety and the worry and then the lack of self-confidence prevent you from taking action, because you might be exploding inside with worry, but other people outside might not even know it. And you can do great things in life. And then work to find ways to truly believe in yourself and and trust in others to work as a team as well. And these are all, I guess, some might say they're shortcomings of mine over the years, but I've had to learn to be trusting of others and to grow a good team. You must trust, and a team is the only way you can do important, large things. You can only do so much as an individual. So gather together, be genuine and honest and open with each other, and then try to accomplish hard things together, whether it's entrepreneurship or advocacy of whatever it is that you care about. The last thing I'll say is, and we talked about this earlier, Dano, make sure you look after yourself along the way and don't be self-sacrificing to the point at which you cannot help others, even though that is your goal. Because I found that was easy to fall into as an individual. So I'll stop there.
Oh man, that is fantastic advice. Yeah, I fully agree with everything you said, and I think it's very valuable to know these kind of things and to consider. And I mean, each of these topics we could get into another 20-minute conversation about,
Yeah.
but I would say we just leave it at that for now. And I would say thank you so much for joining my podcast, sharing your wisdom, sharing your life story. I really appreciate it. And we will definitely stay in touch.
Yes, Dano, I look forward to talking with you again. Thank you so much. It
All
was an
right.
honor.
Okay. Thanks, man.